Hey guys, my name is Mannequin and welcome back to Mastering EDM with Logic Pro. Today, continuing the synth series, I realized that I didn't talk about drum synthesis and how you can actually make drums using a synthesizer. So the most common use for this one is synthesizing a custom kick drum, and I'm going to walk you through that process. So right now what I just have here is I just have 1, 2, 3, 4 notes, one on each beat, and I'm going to loop this here. And then this is just a reset channel strip that has nothing on it. So I just went setting and then reset channel strip. So now I need to drop down in the instrument here a instance of ES2 so you guys can follow along if you don't have whatever synthesizers I prefer to use. So anyway, we're going to go down to tutorial settings here and do analog saw initialized because this is our basic reset preset. And then we're going to drop this down to sine, and now you'll hear, you'll hear and kind of see why I talked about previously in some of my videos how the sine wave is fundamental, and it's actually kind of what a kick drum is made up of. So I'm going to turn this down to fully digital, so we don't have any analog stuff there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this down to 36. So that's basically 3 octaves down from this note. So then we get this really heavy sub with a nasty click at the beginning. So now this is kind of like this. You could actually use this as the raw sub for your kick, but personally I prefer to I would change up a couple things first. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the attack and bring it up just a tiny bit. So we get a little bit more of a pop and not so much of a click, and just a little bit more maybe. There we go. That's already almost sounding like a kick drum if I just play it back here. Almost. And now I'm going to turn the sustain down all the way. So we get this nice impacty sound almost. So this is kind of almost the bass sound here, but what we gotta do a couple more things. So this is it sounds like we're getting there, but what would we do from here? Well, it's actually kind of interesting what we're supposed to do. What we do is we get the pitch for this oscillator, which is the pitch 1, and then we map it to one of the envelopes. I'm going to do envelope 1 right here just because it's nice and simple, and we're just going to have a decay is what we're going to be messing with most. So I'm going to pull this all the way up to the top, and we're going to actually do some things. We're going to adjust this in a second here, but for now we'll just listen to it as it is. So I'm sure you recognize that kick drum. This kick drum is something that's like very characteristic of older styles of music. So now you kind of understand where this kick drum sound came from. Actually, let's just set this to something more interesting, like 128. Here we go. There we go. That's a better BPM. And so it already sounds like a kick drum, but it doesn't sound like a kick drum you'd probably use personally. So so my suggestion is we could do a couple things. First thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to open up another oscillator. I'm going to start doing stuff to this oscillator here that's kind of similar. So we're going to have it at a sine, drop it just 1 octave, and then we're going to do the same thing, pitch 2 for oscillator 2. And then we're going to map this to the second envelope and pull this all the way up and see if we can do this. That's already sounding better. Actually, we'll just keep it at that. And so now the problem is, do we mix or do we, do something else? So what we could do is we could just mix this. Well, that kind of, you hear like this rumbling noise almost. So what we're going to do instead is we're not going to let that one have as much sustain. How we're going to do this is route something else here. We're going to change the oscillator 2 level, and we're going to map it to the same envelope we had before, this one that we're doing with the pitch width, and just pull it up all the way. And so that's louder than usual. You kind of tell. But what we're going to do instead is move this over back so it's only on this one. What'll happen is it'll basically turn up the volume for this one in addition to playing this one back. But it only does it according to this decay time. So it'll pull it up to maximum volume and then drop it down according to the decay time. And what that'll do is that'll allow us to only have this punchy part in when it punches. That's starting to sound a lot better. So we're already liking that, and actually you could change the characteristic a bit by turning this down to 24. So that gives it a smoother tone. And then you could also change how much it comes in, which is that's about good. So we have kind of a nice impact there, and then we have the sub going on at the same time. So now the question is, how do we make this so it doesn't sound as dead as it sounds right now? Actually, one of the things I want to show you first is, I didn't show you a second ago, but let me bypass these two pitches. And we have this one up at the max. But if we pull it down a little, we get a lot more of the sub sort of sound and a lot less of the nice retro sound. So we could put it like right there and turn these on. But this one becomes a lot more prominent when you do that. So then we could probably do the same thing with this one. Okay, and then probably smooth out the attack a little bit because this is going to be the low end. So now the question is, how do we make that clippy high end, the clicky high end? This is actually kind of interesting. I found this out rather on accident one time when I was just messing around. So I'm duplicating this so I get the exact same thing. I'm going to solo this one, and then we're going to distort the snot out of it. So there's a couple ways we could do this. I'm going to just throw some distortion on it right now. Distortion 2 does some pretty nasty clippy distortion. That one probably will work. Now, it sounds nasty as it is, but that's because we need to clip out the low end here. So put this before the distortion, which is key because otherwise the distortion keeps the characteristic of the low end, and you're just kind of filtering out the low end after the distortion. So that's why you have to put it in first, so that way. Hear that? That's a lot more characteristic of the click sound, but that's still not enough. So what can we do? There are a couple things we could do. One of the things is making this a shorter sound and opening up the attack so it's no longer slow. And then obviously we could add some distortion on this part if we want here, which I'm probably not going to do because then I need to, actually I could just do this. Put the balance in between here and then make this a high pass filter to get rid of that low end. I'm just going to leave the resonance alone because it's not doing anything mean here. And I'm not liking that sound too much. So we're kind of just going to stay like this. And before I continue, I'm going to actually go back to this sound here so I can kind of listen to more what's going on. And go here. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take and add some white noise to this. And we'll see if we could get this to work right. So we want this to probably have the same attack as, so we'll just do, what do we want? Oscillator 3 level, have it the same speed as envelope 2. So it's very quick. And then we'll just go through and turn this back on and see what it sounds like. Okay, so now the thing that I'm noticing right now is that it's still not quite fast enough to be a good click sound. Okay, now one of the things we could do is, since we no longer need this sub, we could actually turn it into something useful. So I think what I'll do is I'll set this to 12, make the pitch 1 go up really fast. Except the problem we're going to deal with doing this is if we turn these ones off here, you'll see. That gives us a nice click, but we still need to do something about the volume, like the overhang of the volume there. That's kind of like, I could just do that. And turn all these on. And then what do we get? Let's see. I'm not sure if it's going to mix perfectly, but this might work. And then just balance them in. Now, one thing to keep in mind that you might have noticed is that it doesn't really have a mid section for the kick drum, which like I kind of showed you with this one, we could just duplicate this here, pitch that up, and that didn't duplicate correctly. Let's try this again. Duplicate that one, double that. There we go. And then just get the sub, cut it out by using an EQ here, not a compressor. EQ. And then we are going to need to fix some of the things about the characteristics just because I think that's good. This one it still has that kind of squeaky sound. So let's see if I could swap that to a square and it gets less of that resonant squeaky sound. And then I could probably adjust the balance here to decide which one I want most of. This one still kind of sounds like a square though, so meh. Maybe I'll just let's see here. There we go. That's a bit better. Okay, so it's got a little bit less of that sound, and then we could just balance this however we want it. And then obviously, yeah, that's about right. So you kind of have this kick drum sound, and then what you'd go through is you'd kind of just, stick these all in a stack, create track stack, and then summing stack is what you would want, and then you could go in here and actually start EQing. Yeah, something like that. And then drop in the compressor here. And I'm still not liking that high end, but yeah, what can we do? I guess what we could do is turn off that oscillator. And so this is really tight now. Open up the attack. About that much. Turn off the knee. And let's see, what do we want here? There we go. And then just drop down some, and actually, you know what, we'll keep that as is, just mix between the two. And that gives us a little bit more punch. But yeah, you just process it normally as a kick drum. But there, you kind of see what's going on. Mostly, it's just kind of like mapping the pitch to do what you want. And you could take this on a very different path. And you kind of saw me doing before. What you could do is you could get this this one sub we're using, and this is kind of almost more like a trap sound. What's the first one mapped to? Pitch 1 is mapped to envelope 1. And then you could do something like let's see if I can do this. There we go. And then just do something like and then all you'd have to do with this is just throw some distortion on here. That's what we should have done to get the better mids. Just get rid of this one here, duplicate the thing back in. That didn't sound good, but yeah, I don't like the way this one sounded. But yeah, you get the idea. you could kind of like synthesize your own drums by doing that pitching down thing. And the way that works is because a drum is kind of, if I'm correct, what happens is it kind of when you hit it, it vibrates, it slows down as it as the amplitude decreases. So it's kind of like the higher initial impact is very bright, and then it kind of, you just get the body afterwards, which is kind of the obvious part. But behind that, the pitch kind of drops a little bit too. So if you ever hit a drum and you hear it goes do 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 do, it's because the pitch is dropping also. So so that's kind of the premise behind it. You're mostly just getting a sine wave. You could try the other waves; they don't work quite as well. And then it's just a mix of, you know, where is your final note, you know, ending, and how much are you pitching it up and down, and are you adding distortion to it, and everything like that. And one of the things I forgot, which was turning on fat, that can do some interesting things to your. It kind of just adds a little bit more low end there. So anyway, yeah, that's pretty much all I had to show you guys with this one. You could do, like I said, with pitching these up, and you could add, you could get those more characteristic. Whoops, that was wrong. Here we go. Like I was just doing this. Excuse that. But yeah, just have fun with those. Turn up the glide more, and you could actually make a synthesizer out of it. So that's how you get those kind of impacty sounds. I think I showed you a little bit in my punchy synths tutorial or video there that I kind of talked about ways you could get punchy sounds and kind of those sometimes those woodblock impact sounds sort of. And this one's kind of more for smoother drums, and that's just because of the characteristic that you have for the sine wave here, and that just kind of tends you to get smoother stuff, and you can distort it, like I also said. And then just go, you know. Right here. So yeah, sorry about that. So anyway, yeah, that's pretty much, you know, all I have to cover for this video. But you could do some interesting stuff with this, not just drum synthesis. But you could also make some synthesizers out of it. But anyway, yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.